Okay. How are you?
Oh, is that like, for real, how are you? Or is this like we're recording the podcast, how are you?
What, would you give a different answer to the civilians?
I'm good, yes. Hang on. If we're recording, I'll try and come up with something a bit more interesting.
Right. And not something about that rash on your that you've just been telling me about for the last 20 minutes. I'm lying, by the way.
Well, no, besides that, I'm fine.
You're fine. You can't do any better than fine. You're fine.
Oh, look, I'm delightful.
Tim, I'm not fine.
No?
I'm not fine. I'm knackered.
Oh, yes. Well, you've got bed hair, and it's not early morning there, isn't it? So what's going on?
No. I had Edward to myself last night. My wife's away working, and he was just a bit challenging, and I was a bit tired, and he wasn't even that bad, you know? He took a fair while to get to sleep, but not that long. And then he did pretty well. But I'm just knackered.
Were you irritable, or was it like, are you just tired anyway?
I wasn't irritable to anyone, but in my own head. I don't know. I'd like to say no one tells you how tiring this parenthood thing is, but they all do. But you just don't believe it.
Yeah, and you spent years going, oh, you parents really go on about that sort of stuff, talking about how especially tired you are, and now you know.
Yeah. All right. I had an idea, though, for a podcast.
Okay.
Do you want to hear it?
I do.
How about this? Don't Wake the Baby. And it's a podcast where two new parents are in separate rooms doing a podcast like we do, but they're in a room with their baby that's asleep, and they have to do the podcast without waking up their baby.
That's very good.
I thought that would be an excellent podcast to go to sleep to. Two parents, like just kind of that kind of whispering that you do around the house when your baby's just gone to sleep.
Yes.
I'll be rooms and rooms away from Edward, and we'll be whispering to each other, and we'll suddenly say, why are we whispering? Even if we're talking at full volume, he's not going to hear us from here. But you just whisper anyway, just in case.
Maybe the whispering is even part of enjoying the moment that someone's asleep. Like, you'll forget it's asleep and you won't celebrate it as much. You'll default back to when you didn't value this moment so preciously.
And when the other parent walks in having just got the baby to sleep, and they're hailed as like a hero coming back from battle. Oh my God, you did it. You're a hero.
They come in on their chariot.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Nah, I don't want to brag, but yeah, I got him to sleep. I'm pretty pleased with myself, really. Yeah. You get ready to walk in the room going, oh, she's going to be so impressed.
Have you received the glare of when finally having got them to sleep, you make a big noise, like drop a plate or something, and you get the glare of...
I think because there is a little bit of, you know, there but by the grace of God go I sort of thing, that when the other one does it, there is a kind of, well, I sometimes do it too, so you don't tell the other person off, but you do internally think, no, why did you do that, you clumsy so-and-so?
Oh, you guys are more gracious to one another. There is well, I would never do it.
But can you imagine that podcast? Hey, Tim, how you getting on there? Yeah, I'm good. What you been doing today? Got a story to tell you, but I've got to tell you quietly.
Trying to make the other person giggle loudly so that they... to make them laugh. Yeah. You've got to work really hard to break their whisper, to break.
You could have it the episode ends when one of the babies wakes up. So sometimes it could go for like 4 or 5 hours. We got
to go.
Were you good at putting your girls to sleep back in the day?
Oh, yeah, well, yeah. I mean, you've just got to embrace it. Like, you can't think, oh, okay, this is going to be difficult. You just got to steel yourself and go, this is the important thing. And I was pretty good at doing laps up and down the hallway. Oh, this is when they're very, very young. Got to put them to sleep and so forth. Later on, it's all about, trying to teach them to sleep, which means times of leaving them alone and walking back and forward. And that is tedious in its own way. But the early days of just doing laps with them in my arms was marvellous. And I would sing songs to them, like sing whole albums, just working through the lyrics of song after song and just go, okay, I'm going to do Achtung Baby now. And I would just sing Achtung Baby from start to finish, because if it took so long.
Yeah.
Oh. And I look back with rose-coloured glasses going, how precious, singing lullabies at the time. It's just, all right, we're not doing an encore here. This is this is the last song of the night.
Please. If I could give you money to go to sleep, I would.
Sleep is fascinating. Getting someone else to do it. It's hard enough to get yourself to do it sometimes, and getting someone else to do it, a little child, teaching them that this is good for you. And I've been reading a book lately about sleep, and by like the Harvard, professor of sleep or whatever. It's so important. It's so important for your brain and for your mind, and not only your mental health and your physical energy, but it does all sorts of really important things that you need to grow. And it's so important when you're young.
It's also just lovely.
Oh, well, it is. It's pleasurable too. That's the other funny thing about it, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
It eats up so much time, but I've gone from seeing it as dead time to seeing it as just such important rest time and reordering time for your brain and filing time. It's like when you're doing the admin at home and cleaning up a room. Your brain's doing that every night. It's really fascinating.
Also, when I take Edward out to play and do things during the day, like riding his bike and his scooter and running around and kicking the football, I see that as a real investment. Oh, because I'm knackering him out.
Yeah.
Oh, this is good. This is good. Oh, that's going to tire him out. It's the same feeling you get when it rains and you think, oh, that's going to be good for my garden.
Yes.
It's that kind of thing. When he's playing, I'm thinking, this is good for something later. This is going to help later on.
This is an investment.
I'm going to be glad I did this.
Yes, nice. Yes.
Hey, I had another idea for a podcast.
Good. Because you needed a backup.
I've gone for 3 mini ideas rather than one big idea, if that's okay.
Okay, all right.
My other one is inspired by our last episode where we had my wife Kylie on the show.
Oh, yes.
And as you know, and everyone knows now, Kylie is a TV news presenter and she's English. Mm-hmm. She has very nice elocution. I think she has a wonderful speaking voice. She has a beautiful voice. And especially for you, Tim, because you add extra points for her being English.
Indeed.
Because it's novelty. And I did notice while we were recording, occasionally you would ask her to say a word again because you liked it.
Yes.
Like I remember when she said antelope. You asked her to say antelope again several times.
Yes.
And I was thinking we could have a podcast where Tim just comes up with words that he wants Kylie to say, and he talks about the words and why he's chosen that word. And then as the finale, I'll go and get Kylie to say it. Any other words you'd like Kylie to say?
Mufasa.
Mufasa.
See it again. Mufasa.
Mufasa.
I would like to hear Kylie do... I would love to hear all of the James L. Jones roles overdubbed by Kylie, so she could be Darth Vader.
All right, I'll give her a couple of Darth Vader lines as well.
That would be awesome.
Don't be too proud of this technological terror you've constructed. The ability to destroy a planet is insignificant next to the power of the Force.
And a couple from The Lion King as well. Zazu.
Okay.
I'd like to hear her go, Zazu.
Zazu.
Well, everything the light touches.
That's right.
Everything you see exists together in a delicate balance. As king, you need to understand that balance and respect all the creatures, from the crawling ant to the leaping antelope.
But Dad, don't we eat the antelope?
Yes, Simba, but let me explain. When we die, our bodies become the grass, and the antelope eat the grass, and so we are all connected in the great circle of life.
Any other individual words that you think? You know, they could be because they're distinctly English or just because they're nice words.
Even the word English. I think the word English is something that... Doesn't it sound very English?
English.
It does sound English, does Tim?
But it does. But even saying the word
Does
English...
the word English sound more English than the word Australian sounds Australian?
Australian does. Australian, doesn't it?
Australian.
All right, English.
English.
Yep.
Pantomime.
Pantomime.
Okay. Yes, that's a very English word too.
What's a sort of a shorter word? Maybe...
Something from Adrian Mole, maybe?
Oh, yes. Well, I wonder if there's something like a... What does he talk about? Like a thatched... I'd like her to say... No, Adrian Mole's novel is called Low... What is it? Low the flat hills of my homeland.
Lo, the flat hills of my homeland.
Okay.
Is it the gyro or the gyro? You know, their doll that they get for their
The
unemployment
gyro,
benefits?
the benefits payment check that Adrian Mole always refers to. Yeah,
So
okay,
there's
I can get him to say that.
there's an Adrian Mole. He writes a poem called "Waiting for the Gyro." I'd like to hear her give us that.
What, the whole poem?
Yeah, it's only very brief. I think he writes it on the toilet door.
The pantry door creaks, showing empty Fablon shelves. The freezer echoes with mournful electrical whirrings. The boy goes ragged-trousered to school. The woman waits at the letterbox. The bills line up behind the clock. The dog whimpers empty-bellied in sleep. The building society writes letters penned in vitriol. The house waits, 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 waits for the gyro.
I'm trying to think about something that Emma Thompson says. From Sense and Sensibility or from Love Actually or something like that.
The trouble with being the Prime Minister's sister is it does put your life into rather harsh perspective. What did my brother do today? He stood up and fought for his country. And what did I do? I made a papier-mâché lobster head.
I think a Hugh Grant, like I'd like to hear her say, whoops-a-daisy.
Whoops-a-daisy.
You know, Hugh Grant says that in the film with Julia Roberts. What's that called again?
Notting Hill.
Notting Hill was shot the other day. Yes,
Yeah.
when I was in
Okay,
Notting Hill.
I'll get that. I'll get those ones for you. I think
Lovely.
that's a good starting list.
Whoops-a-daisy.
See, how easy is this podcast for us? We've just got to come up with a list of words and give them to Kylie.
That's a good idea. You could actually move it around to other people as well. Like, of course, James L. Jones would be great. Words I'd like to hear him say, or Barry White. But who else has a voice that you'd love to hear something said in?
Who's like an Australian that has like a definitive voice? Who's like the James L. Jones or like who's an Australian who's famous for having like a lovely voice?
There are a few Australians who really play it up, like John Williamson. You know, he sort of talks like, you know, as low as a snake's belly, kind of that sort of jingo-ish thing. I don't know how genuine it is, though. A famous person who had a very distinctive Australian voice, John Blackman, died the other day. And
did he?
Yeah. So Hey Hey It's Saturday was a really classic show, a bit like Saturday Night Live in America, you know, on every Saturday, and you watch it, except much earlier in the evening for the whole family. And he was sort of the voiceover person.
The whole show, he would just be in a sound booth and just like say stuff whenever he wanted to. That you thought would be funny. Just this,
he was a bit like, they do that sort of thing in talk shows, don't they, in America? But the person sits off to the side, and there's a bit of banter.
Of course, Pete Smith.
I was going to say Pete Smith as well. Pete Smith speaking.
Who
Absolutely.
He famously did the voiceover for Sale of the Century and the copper art advertisements.
It's all got to go.
It's Christmas sale time at Copper Art. Planters, vases, ornaments, coat stands, fire screens and accessories, watches, clocks, beautiful paintings, whatever you want. Copper Art's the only store you need to shop at this Christmas.
There's a guy who was in a crime TV show I watched recently, and it was one of those Scandi noir ones. I can't remember if it was Danish or Swedish or Norwegian or what it was, but there was like a lead detective. He was like a policeman, and he was quite sort of I would say a guy who was carrying a few extra kilos, and he didn't seem like you know, the sexiest looking man I'd ever seen. Not that I'm the best judge, but apparently he's a real heartthrob in his homeland, and he was cast, and he's become a famous actor there, and everyone loves him, and the women especially love him. He's considered a real, and it's because he used to do the voice of the clock, like the clock that you could ring up and it tells you what time it is on the phone. And it was known that the guy who does the clock voice has a really sexy voice, and women used to always ring up to get the time just so they could hear his voice, and he became like a cult hero because of that. And as a result of that, his like acting career took off. I could have that story completely wrong, but that's how I remember it.
Are we doing I feel like we're all out of sorts here. We haven't done like parish news and stuff. Is that?
I haven't got any parish notices. I didn't have any. Like it's been a while. We've done quite a few episodes, and things have just kind of drifted away a bit. So
Oh.
I just got into the ideas. Is that all right? Did you have parish notices, did you?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Yeah, well, what are you complaining about then?
Well, you're usually very organised.
Well, I'm not, because I haven't been sleeping.
Fair enough. All right.
Did you not hear me earlier?
I did. Glad you're not in charge of parish notices at my parish.
Here's my last idea. It's called residency. You know how, like, big stars like Celine Dion or Garth Brooks and people like that will do a residency, usually in Vegas?
Yep.
They'll do, 6 months at a hotel, and they call it a residency.
Yep.
I like the idea of our podcast doing residencies, but at really rubbish places. Like you do a 3-week residency at the local old people's home. where we just do like a podcast each Friday night at the old person's home, and they can all come and listen and watch, and that's our residency.
That's cool.
And then we do one at some rubbish restaurant or like some hotel lobby at some dive hotel and you just do all these residencies at different interesting places where you just do a few shows, but you really big it up like it's a big deal. Unmade Podcast, we're doing a residency at the local coffee shop for the next 4 Wednesdays. Come and catch us at 3 p.m. each Wednesday. We'll be recording an episode and you can watch.
That's cool. I like that idea. Yeah.
Where would you like to do a residency? It's got to be rubbish.
In a subway somewhere, or like a bus stop or somewhere like that,
A bus stop is even better than a subway because it's outside and sad. And as people, if you choose a busy one too, people will come and go throughout your set or your recording.
Yeah, that's
They're
right.
still coming
Yeah.
and going. Yeah.
And you can hear the bus pull up and pull off and, ding and all that.
Yeah,
kind of
taking
stuff.
away your audience.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the number 14 stop on Halifax Street for the next 4 weeks.
Every Tuesday. And the promotion's really huge. 4 weeks only.
Yeah.
Settling in.
Limited time.
Well, the other thing would be to go somewhere really extravagant but be understated. Like, you know how in Las Vegas at the moment they've built that sphere? And it's like the entire, I'm sure everyone knows about this, but it's a giant building that's almost round. It's a globe, and it's got an external video camera and a video screen, really, it looks like. So, but then inside it's just a spectacular sort of place to, I guess, see a band. And U2 opened it for a while, and some other bands have been in there. But I'd love the idea of doing a podcast in there. So you've got this ridiculous.
Don't switch the screen on.
It's just $5 billion or something stupid to build. And there's 2 jerks and a microphone right down the front. We're playing the sphere.
Or we could do it in Las Vegas, but take like a little sculpture of a sphere, like a ball, and say we're playing like the other sphere, like over on
That's right,
Smith Street,
yeah.
and you just have it sitting on the table next to
It's a
you.
little sphere. It's a little globe. Remember, maybe it's one of those things. Remember at school, the most sciencey thing you could ever see at one of those school sciencey things was that globe that has that electricity thing where you put your hands on it and
It's called a Van de Graaff generator.
I knew you'd know the answer to what it's called. Are they still around? I feel like their only purpose was to be in the 1980s get kids interested in science by going, ooh, wow.
Yeah. Any science museum, its promotional material is compulsory to be 3 kids around one of those with their hair going crazy.
Oh, your hair goes up as well, doesn't it? Is that right? Your hair rises.
Yeah.
That and the Bunsen burner. That's all I remember from science class, pretty much.
That's Tim's science knowledge exhausted.
Yeah.
The sphere he can't name and a Bunsen burner.
And a Bunsen burner. That's right.
All right.
Residency.
Look out for the Unmade Podcast people coming to a bus stop near you
Yes, indeed.
for an exclusive 6-week residency.
6 weeks back at the same bus stop. That's right.
Yep.
We're still here.
Because you'd start getting the same people too if you did that at a bus stop at the same time each week. They'd be like, oh, these guys again. They
And
were
the
here
good
last
thing
week.
is that people will be lining up anyway. So you just assume they're lining up to see you.
There's a queue. And people might just start joining the queue because there's a queue and they think there must be something good. Tim, now it's time for us to introduce a new segment.
Oh, yes. This is exciting.
Because as you all know, Tim was recently in the UK, here in England with me for about a week. And we got out and about and had some adventures, and I exposed him to some Englishness, as English as the word English it was. And we recorded all sorts of stuff, and now we're going to share some of it with you in a new segment that we like to call Tim in England. Cue the theme music.
Tim in England.
So, Tim, this is an English experience. Mizzle.
Yes.
Sort of mist, drizzle, rain. They call it mizzle here in the UK. It's a grey, mizzly day. Do you like it?
I do, because it's quintessentially English.
Yeah.
I was saying, you know, when you watch an English film like Four Weddings and a Funeral, it's like there are several beautiful days in which weddings occur and then one rainy day on which a funeral occurs.
Yep.
This is the funeral day.
It's not like wild like the funeral is in Four Weddings. It's more just like it doesn't even. The thing with England is it doesn't even know how to rain properly. Like it doesn't do like a torrential downpour. It's just like
It's a bit crap.
yeah. And that's what. How would you describe this weather? Like if your wife called now and said, "What's the weather right now?" How would you describe it?
Oh, I'd say it's pretty English.
Grey sky, but not dramatic clouds. Just a slate, grey, white covering of cloud. Like just not. You don't see cloud. It's just like a.
It's just grey. Yeah, it's grey, which feels right. It feels English.
Yeah.
It feels like there should be a nice street scene with a bus. You know, English things should happen today, including people sort of, you know, whining a bit about the weather.
Yeah, which we are doing. We've got a few nice buildings here, haven't we? We've got a church in front. Well, it was a church in front of us. It's now accommodation. These are some nice English houses along here. This road here.
Oh yeah. No, there's some lovely. Yeah. There's a look to it. I'm sure I don't know if it's Georgian or what it is, but there's a particular look to it. Nice peaked roof and then bay windows and everything's sort of dollhouse-ish. You know, cute and nice, and it's very indoor life. I think English life. Lovely curvy street that sort of rises and falls and curves away in a nice.
Bit higgledy-piggledy.
Yeah.
Bit too narrow for cars.
That's right. Yeah. Yes. Not quite at cobbled streets, but I think there is a cobbled street just up ahead, isn't there?
I don't know if it's got cobbles, but I can imagine it was once cobbled.
Everything was once something in England.
Yeah.
And it bears the hell marks of being once quintessentially middle-aged. Yeah.
And just getting those few speckles of rain on your glasses.
Yeah. Just enough to piss you off.
Yeah. But not feel like you're doing anything dramatic.
No, that's right. Not enough to stay indoors. You've got to keep going.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. Keep calm and carry on.
Mustn't grumble.
No, mustn't grumble.
That's what you say.
Oh yes. No, but then splashes of brightly coloured shops.
Yes.
Love a brightly coloured shop front.
Okay, Tim, here's something very quintessential English. The red pillar box post box.
Oh yes, look at that. I mean, that's a striking colour, unmistakably a post office box. Yes.
Now let me give you the rundown here. So we've got the classic red pillar box. It's like a big cylinder on the road, and we can see here it's got the symbol of who the monarch was at the time. It looks like this is Victorian because we've got the VR.
Oh right.
So this pillar box was during the reign of Queen Victoria. Sometimes you get GR, you get ER for Elizabeth. Presumably the new ones are going to be CR for Charles.
Oh yeah.
But we've got a VR.
So this is like 120 at least years old.
Yep. They're really interesting. When you see them out of the ground, the cylinder goes way down deep underground as well to stop them being knocked over or stolen. So it looks like they're just sort of balancing here on the road, but they've got a really deep root.
Oh, right. The letters don't go down that far, do they? It's not like a big hole in the ground.
No, the letters just go to here at the base here. So the postman will come with a key and unlock this door once or twice a day. At 9 a.m. Monday to Friday, according to this, and at 7 a.m. on Saturdays are the collection times. He'll unlock this with a key, just open that door and take out the letters.
So it's essentially a bollard. You wouldn't want to crash into it then.
Oh no.
Very strong.
I've never seen a car crashed into a red pillar box post box, but I imagine the pillar box would come out on top. I don't know. You hear it.
Down the bottom especially there.
Yeah,
golly gosh.
It's sturdy.
I do think it looks, I mean, I know because of the bright red. If it wasn't bright red, if it was white or black or brown, it would be certainly something attacking the humans in Doctor Who.
It does have that look. During the London Olympics, I think it was, whenever a British athlete won a gold medal, they would find the nearest post box to where that person was from, where they were born, and paint it gold.
Oh.
So there were these golden post boxes all around the UK for a while.
Oh,
I think they then repainted them red. But so if you won a gold medal, the nearest post box to where you were born was painted bright gold. But they are traditionally red. Let's get a picture of Tim next to this one so people can...
Marvellous.
There's a pub behind you as well, so what more could you ask for?
I imagine, even though they essentially look the same, I imagine they do vary. Like the ones, if they built one of these today, presumably putting it in a new suburb somewhere, it wouldn't be shaped like this. They would be...
I think they would. I think they would go for the old-fashioned look. I don't know that for a fact, but you do get different kinds of post boxes. You get square ones in walls and things as well, but I think they probably still manufacture this style of cylindrical pillar box, post box.
It is funny, for us as Australians and here in England, of course, we equate the post office with red, but it's funny to think they don't do that in other places. Of course, US Mail, it's that blue.
Oh yeah, they go, they're blue themed, but yeah, all the post boxes in the UK, bright fire engine red.
And right next to it is some other box, which is presumably some sort of electrical distributor, and that's that other awesome British racing green. So having that green and red together, this is a really English moment, right?
I imagine that's a telephone exchange. I don't know. Maybe it might be electricity, but yeah. Yep, there we go. Let's see if the shop here sells postcards and we can mail something. You don't sell postcards, do you? Do you do postcards or just cards? Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, that'll do the trick. We're going to send one in the post box.
Yeah, no.
All right. Thank you very much. We haven't got a pen.
What?
I don't need to keep the pen. Should I just send it? Where should we send it? I haven't got international stamps.
Just back here?
Yeah, I'll send it up here. So Tim, we've got a postcard. We're just going to post it to me because I've only got second-class stamps. Do you want to put the stamp on? I've got stamps here.
Oh, I do. I love these English stamps because are all your stamps got the Queen on them or the monarch? Don't you have other ones with celebrities?
You do get other ones, but these are the Queen's head. Well, they're changing it to Charles's head, obviously, but the ones with the Queen's head are like the they're your bog standard, you know. And that's a second-class stamp we're putting on there. So
what does that mean, second class?
It means it doesn't get as fast treatment as a first-class stamp. It goes through.
Oh, you pay a bit more to get a first class, do you?
Yes.
Geez, even your stamps have like status in England.
Okay, Tim, do you want to do a post? Do you want to post the
Photo.
postcard?
Yep.
Here we go. Tim's posting a postcard into the pillar
I've
box.
never posted it. Oh, well, I can't remember if I posted something in England before.
Here we go. Here we go.
Look at this.
Go on then.
And in it goes.
Oh, you did that quickly. There was no like ceremonial like waiting. It was like
I'm a pro.
You
No, this isn't my first rodeo.
No. All right. Just a little postscript, people. After that that letter was sent, I realised this stamp I'd put on the envelope is no longer valid in the UK. The UK actually recently changed its stamps, and all stamps now have these like little, I think they're like QR codes or some kind of code on them that can be scanned to ensure that they're unique to stop people like, you know, making fake stamps. But I put an old stamp on that didn't have a QR code. So after I'd sent it, I was thinking, oh, well, that's just going to go to wherever letters go to die. But no, that postcard that Tim and I sent arrived at my house. It was only like a day or two later, wasn't it? You were still here when it arrived. So they sent it anyway. Which is interesting because the postbox was only, 60, 70 yards from my house.
That's
but
right.
we got it.
The cool thing, though, I love was that you had a whole bunch of extra stamps that were now redundant, like a whole sheet full of them. And they're all... Because stamps in England, they're all quite conservative. They all have the Queen's head on them. Or it seems like all the ones you have... They're not all like that, are they, surely?
No, you can get like... you know, jazzy themed ones like Star Wars stamps, or it's, you know, or ones that have been made artistically, or you can just get the standard run of the mill ones with what was the Queen's head on it. Now it's the King's head.
Yes.
But yeah, so you can get just normal first class stamps or second class stamps with the Queen's head, which I like, or occasionally you can get ornate ones too if you seek them out.
I don't think Australia has like a default normal stamp, does it? It only has koalas and, you know, bands and...
Right. Yeah, I don't remember a default Australian stamp.
No, no, indeed. Certainly doesn't have the Governor-General. There's no one to put on it, apart from the Queen, of course. We might have ones with the royal image on it as well. But anyway, you had a whole bunch of those that were then worthless. So I took them home because I thought they'd be a nice novelty, and Mum would like a couple and the girls would like a couple. And one's ended up on my AirPod cover as like a little, hey, that's mine, don't mix it up with yours in the household kind of thing.
Like a identifying symbol. So you're just sticking them on random stuff around the house, are you? These
there's one on the
British
fridge.
stamps with the Queen's head.
Yeah.
Yep. Nice.
Hopefully no one posts any of these things. But yeah, no, it's just a nice little piece of sort of pop art sticking around the house.
All right. Nice. Well, stay tuned for more Tim in England, people. Plenty more to come. Plenty more to come. Some really good stuff. We didn't use our best one early. We've kept some of the good ones back.
I enjoyed it very much. I enjoyed it, particularly because I had to go to England to do it. That was enjoyable.
Yes. Brady in Australia coming soon. Or how about Tim and Brady in the Maldives?
Nice. Sure.
That'd be good. Tim, prizes. We haven't done a Patreon giveaway for a little while because we've been doing different kinds of episodes.
Yeah.
But we really appreciate our Patreon supporters. You will still always have access, of course, to the request room, and there will be a request room episode at the end of this episode for you. Always trying to do cool new stuff for the Patreon supporters, but we also like to give you prizes. I've got a new batch of our Australian nut leather keyrings just recently delivered, so I thought I'd be a little bit extravagant and give away 3 of them in this episode, if I may.
Cool.
So keyrings are being sent to the following Patreon supporters: Liam C. in St. Helens, in the UK, that is.
Congratulations, Liam.
Evan in Las Vegas.
Evan, oh. Maybe he lives near the Sphere.
Have you been? Have you been? What was it like? Any good? What did you see? Can you see it from where you live? And Tim B. in Wisconsin. Congratulations, Tim.
Yes.
Do you always feel that little bit of extra warmth when the winner's called Tim?
Yep, I do.
Yep. Good. And we are sending Unmade Podcast Spoon of the Week collector cards to Sue K in Tennessee, Vic C in Kent in the UK, Garden of England, and Alex R in Gateshead, also in England.
Where's Gateshead?
It's up like Newcastle way,
Oh, right.
up
Quite
in the
north, is it?
northeast.
So it'd be a Geordie.
Yeah, are you a Geordie in Gateshead? I'm not sure. You might be. But Sunderland's up there, and you're not a Geordie if you're from Sunderland, so... Yeah, I don't know. Are you a Geordie, Alex R? Let us know. And support us on Patreon. Patreon.com/unmadefm. We really try to make it worth your while, and you keep the podcast going. We couldn't do the podcast without our Patreon supporters. Thank you very much. And there'll be a link in the notes as usual. Tim, have you got a podcast idea?
You know what? I've got quite an old-fashioned idea. Like an old-fashioned, for us, idea. It's a sort of idea that we did a lot early on, and we don't do this sort of idea anymore.
Old school.
I was thinking about my idea is, I guess, called FON or phone. And this podcast is an exploration of the many things, and it seems growing things, that are phones. We have telephones, and of course we refer to our phones as our devices. But there's a ridiculous amount of things that actually are phones. There are also saxophones and microphones and telephones and xylophones and gramophones and headphones, and it goes on.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
this is, you know how we used to do these kinds of things early on? You did your ology idea and so forth.
Collections.
I was driving along and I
Oh.
came up with quite a list in my head of phones.
I like it. I mean, I guess they're always going to be sound related, aren't they? Is the word phonic, is that where it's coming from?
That's
Phonic,
right,
and
yeah.
therefore-
The Greek word phon, which means sound, PHON, and then it's sort of anglicised and, develops over time into phone and then telephone. We really, no one ever spoke about phone on its own. We refer to our phones as a shorthand for a telephone.
Well, could there be an episode about the Fonz from Happy Days?
The phones, that's right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've been mispronouncing it. It's telephones.
And what about things that are phony?
Oh, I wonder how that works in.
Yeah.
Phony. What's the etymology of phony? It's an alteration of the British fawny, Fawney, the word for a gilded brass ring used in a confidence game called the Fawney rig. In this game, the trickster drops a ring, or a purse and runs to pick them up at the same time as the other people. So, it comes from fawn.
I'm just looking at things to do with phone. How about the phonetic alphabet, of course?
Do you mean by saying at, like at?
No, like they're using the Flying Doctors, Victor, Charlie, Charlie.
Oh, that one. Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
No, I know Victor, Charlie, and Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta. Oh, no, I lose it from there.
Echo. I've got it written in front of me, so I'd be cheating, but I do know it.
Go on, then take me on a little bit further. What's E?
Echo. Foxtrot, Golf, Hotel, India, Juliet, Kilo, Lima, Mike, November, Oscar, Papa.
Hang on. Are you reading these?
Sierra,
Tango, you're reading.
Uniform, Victor, Whiskey, X-Ray, Yankee, Zulu. Oh, yeah, I do know it, though. I was reading it. But I said I was reading it to you.
It's...
I might have struggled with Papa. I think I may have forgotten Papa if I was doing it without reading it. That was when I was like, oh, yeah, Papa. I don't know.
Juliet. I didn't remember Juliet. So just to explain to any youngsters that are listening, what's the purpose of... these are for identifying over a radio, a particular
over radio
series.
Communication, when sometimes it's not clear. Yeah, did you say C or D? Because if you're talking over the radio, things like C and D and P, they all may sound the same over a staticky radio. So radio communication in the military and other areas, they use these words that are distinctive. So if you hear someone, if I was saying, what letter did you just say? Delta. Oh, okay, that can only be D.
That's right.
Yeah.
And people have call sign names, don't they? So before, when we're saying Victor, Charlie, Charlie, it's VCC is his call sign to Mike, Sierra, Foxtrot.
Yeah, so there was an Australian television show called The Flying Doctors, and there would often be communication between the main base, which was in some country town, and the plane that was going around saving people. And the two call signs were Victor, Charlie, Charlie, and Mike, Sierra, Foxtrot. There was so you'd always hear them saying Victor, Charlie, Charlie. This is Mike, Sierra, Foxtrot. I can't remember which was which was the plane and which was the base. But
I can't remember either.
You'd always hear them saying that.
Yeah. They didn't seem to call anyone else. Well, I guess they called the farmers, didn't they? But we didn't get to hear their call signs very much.
Any more phones that are there going to be episodes in your? I like the idea of calling it the Phony Podcast.
The Phony Podcast. Yeah, that's right. That's good. Yeah, well, I just think, but you can get experts in to talk about them. It can be a little bit like the history of this item. Where did it come from? How was it invented? Who invented it? Under what circumstances? And, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Just headphones. How have they developed? Microphones, saxophones, and so forth. Hydrophones.
All right.
Phones.
Look at that. Because now you're going into sort of microphones, the types of microphone too. So
solid idea. I feel like this is kind of like an early Brady idea, like a good solid list of stuff.
Yeah, It is more my kind of idea from the olden days. Yeah, but I like it. I feel like I'm on safe ground. If a little slightly dull ground, but safe ground. Well, I think if you'd come to the table with a longer list, it would have been good, not just what you thought of in the car on the drive to the office. If you'd hit me with like 30 examples, it might have been a bit more overwhelming and cooler.
No, can I just clarify this? So forth. I didn't think of it in the car on the way here. I thought of it in the car like several weeks ago and carefully put it on my list as a good idea. And today, of the multiple good ideas on my list, I chose this one and pulled it out.
I'm saying you could have pulled together a better list of examples of phones. Like saxophone.
I've got 74 I've got 74. I can keep going if you want. There's lots and lots that are here and so forth. Francophone, radiophone, a sousaphone, a vibraphone, a mellophone.
A megaphone.
A megaphone, indeed. Opposite of a microphone. Even though, ironically, a microphone can be louder than a megaphone.
Of course, you then have homophones, which are two words that sound the same but mean different things.
Oh yeah, like there and there.
Well, there's some good stuff. All right. I mean, I think it's a good idea. Let's do it.
Safe idea. Solid idea.
You could have one episode where you interview the Stereophonics.
You could. Yes. Or the Fonz.
Yeah.
I like
The Fonz, of course. Yeah, that would be, yeah. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you. Safe.
Thank you.
Nice.
Well done. Shall we retire to the request room and just record a bit extra for the Patreon supporters now that we're done with, the main show, the business?
That's pretty short. Do you want me to do another idea? Just think about value for money. That's all. What's that, 37 minutes? So
Well, they're not paying anything.
I didn't realise it was a free episode. That's all. Sorry.
They're all free episodes.
No. The patrons, I mean.
Patrons pay, but they get the request room.
Well, I guess that's true too. Yeah. I get that's fair.
Okay, so Tim and I are going to take our microphones to the request room and we will have a bit more chat.
Just to finish, I want to add one more word to the list of words for Kylie to say. Telephone.
Done.
Telephone. The ability to destroy a planet is insignificant next to the power of the Force.
Oh, I like hearing you say that.